Welcome back.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us again. We want to talk a bit about stress this holiday season.
Well, it's stress in the holidays? Anybody feel that?
Yeah, it can bring up a lot of stressful moments around food, around family, around who knows. I've even got my sparkling holiday shirt on for you today. Anyway, stress is very related to health conditions or what we might term disease. In fact, it's shown that 80 to 90% of all conditions have a very strong stress-related component. So we thought we'd share a bit about how to deflate stress that may be coming up for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting, as we look more and more into this understanding we've been sharing lately, seeing the role the mind plays in our experience and seeing how it's not the circumstances in our lives that create stress, it's how we relate to or what meaning we give to those circumstances.
I think the most important seeing that I've had about circumstances is how truly, as you say, it isn't the circumstance. Circumstances are neutral. We give them the meaning they have through our thought process.
And with that meaning, either the stress or the lack of stress. And I woke up thinking about this yesterday morning, and we have some pine trees outside our window, and I was thinking about Christmas, the 25th of December, and when I wake up on the 25th of December, it means all these things, and the mind gets going with all the history and memories and expectations of what the day is going to be like. And I looked out at that pine tree, and there was a little squirrel going up the tree, and I thought, now, if this was the 25th of December,
yes,
what would that squirrel be thinking? Right? And it gave me kind of that perspective about how circumstances are neutral. Because if I were that squirrel, it would be just another day.
Another day.
But being a human and having all this history and all these memories and all this expectation into the future, it's a very different thing. Not because the day is different. The circumstance, the day is the same for me and the squirrel.
Sure.
But our experience is very different. And so that's the point we're trying to make here, is that circumstances are neutral. Our experience, our reality in any moment is our thinking about the circumstance.
Yes.
That swings it either to dread or bliss.
Or somewhere in between.
Or somewhere in between. Right. So the other thing that we notice about holidays and our association with them is how much we've tied food to our experience in the holidays. So I can look back through all the family gatherings and everything, and there's this sense of festivity and joy and cheer. There's a kind of a relaxation in a way.
Yeah.
Among the people, we've all kind of put business and all this off to the side. We're just going to come and be more present. We're going to be in the now. We're going to share. We're going to enjoy. We're going to be generous. And all of that has left me with kind of a feeling like, wow, the holidays are just a happy time. And I associate the foods that I ate on those happy times, which again is just my thinking about a neutral circumstance. The food that I associate with that carries that feeling. So lots of times, just leading up to Christmas, I would think about that food and I would start feeling those good feelings of the holiday. Now go figure.
Yeah, that's a lovely story.
If it's the food and I didn't eat the food, then how am I having these same feelings? So it's interesting to look back and see how I connect dots. This food makes me feel this way. When in fact, The food is a neutral circumstance, but I've got some thinking wrapped around it. So then sometimes it's not even the holiday, and I might feel a little low or feel a little stress or something. And interesting, isn't it? I get a thought to have one of those foods.
Yeah, that's very common for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
What's been interesting about our journey in plant-based world of eating high nutrient dense whole foods is initially when Christmas would come up 30 years ago, we'd think, oh, we'll just eat what everybody else is eating because we don't eat animal. It won't hurt if we have this meal. And we would, and we didn't feel great. So we started adapting and changing and giving up the animal, looking for how to create the pumpkin pie like you did in a more helpful way, creating a mushroom gravy instead of the meat gravy that is so celebrated at holiday time, and how to do potatoes without all the fat that's often put in there when you mash them up. And that was better. But what I noticed, and certainly notice now, is now we've moved away from that even. We want to eat those foods that really nourish us. And the most important one, as we're always preaching, is dark leafy greens. They're a wonderful food to support the body to thrive. But over this 30-year process, what I've noticed is that it's about memory, that food that we used to think was so great was more the memory of an experience at that time where there was relaxation. It wasn't the food. So when you have your Christmas meal, get really present. And whatever you have on your plate, chew it with a lot of awareness, smell it, taste it, feel its texture, and then feel love for it when you eat it. And then the most important step is notice how your body receives it, because that inner wisdom of the body that comes from that rested place quite easily will guide us to eat what's most important for the body to thrive. And you'll learn a lot. It's a fun experiment.
Yeah, so just getting back to stress and dealing with food and everything around the holidays. Maybe this holiday, just explore, just take a look and see. Are the circumstances neutral and it's just my mind that's making up the story and creating stress and having me reaching for foods?
Yeah.
Or is it really something in this, is the circumstance making me feel that way and the food changes it?
Or is the food itself making me feel that way?
Check
Really
it out.
get present and see what you learn.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's just, we want to support you in exploring how life really works because we feel like there's so much, I guess what I would call unnecessary suffering that occurs when I believe that something outside of me is what's making me feel the way I do.
Yeah.
When in fact, what we're beginning to see is that the circumstances are neutral and how I'm feeling is how I'm thinking. The interpretation or the meaning that I'm giving to the circumstance and how that is just a thought and how thought is always changing and that will go. And then we'll come back to this quiet place. We don't need to change circumstances to change how we feel.
Yes. So play in it. See what you discover and have a wonderful holiday. The more that I settle out of that busy mind, the more every moment is full. And interesting note, when you're in the present moment, all those old habits that we may have about food and overdoing or whatever it is doesn't exist when we're really present. Explore that and see what you learn. Food for recipe today. we're going to send you a recipe for avocado toast, the healthiest version.
that we've come up with it.
Yeah, it's so delicious. I think you'll enjoy it. It just requires that you find a really dark rye bread. We found one from Germany that was organic, oil-free, just rye berries and sea salt. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.